Reverend Attorney David Hart, Jason Fields, partner in crime here. So we wanted to come to you all today and really just look at it's almost a month now after the 2024 election, and we had some time to just digest it, brother.
Mm-hmm.
And we looked at some of the numbers, and like many of you, I think we were somewhat shocked, uh, very disappointed, very frustrated.
Indeed.
Maybe I even experienced a little bit of anger, and not so much as to. I heard someone say, "I'm not really concerned about why she lost. Rather, how is it that he won?"
Yeah. That's always the question. He's been running for about 10 years.
And I want to dig into some of these things, and so you guys have an hour with us as we really dive into. I think, attorney, the issue of I think we have to talk about racism. I think we have to talk about, you know, what happened, man. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
and from my point of view, as I look at some of the people, particularly who I went to school with,
Right.
in a pretty Caucasian environment,
Indeed.
a Christian environment,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I'm still at a loss because for me, I can't get over that outside of policy.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was nothing off limits for the people who said, "I'm gonna pull the trigger."
Yeah. I just don't even know where to begin on analyzing the stuff that's not policy and the stuff that's not politics and political. I don't even know where to begin to start dissecting that because you're right. He has illustrated to us time and time again that there's just really nothing off limits. He is literally a felon 37 times. So what's off limits? Yeah,
You you know, I so what happened? Walk me through when you started seeing the numbers, right?
indeed.
And the moment where you were like, "Okay, this is not this is not gonna end up the way
Right.
I wanted it to."
We were actually doing this podcast and the numbers were coming in and I thought um I thought things were looking pretty well. We had I have had seen the ground operation for the campaign in a number of battleground states. I was in Ohio, I was in Michigan, I was looking around in Wisconsin as well. Of course, Milwaukee up north and here. And I thought I thought they had run a really solid um, ground game. I mean, they really had, it was really sharp. Uh, in fact, I hadn't seen this level of, um, strategic, um, just movement since Obama.
Mhm.
And so when the numbers started coming in, I was like, okay, some wards were, some wards, some counties were looking good, some were not, but nothing was looking unexpected when we were sitting down.
Right.
Then I mean, it got to be about 1 o'clock. I was like, this doesn't feel this doesn't feel right. This
Mhm.
something doesn't feel right. And so I think Jill Stein
Yeah.
played a factor. I'm looking at some of the returns that came in Michigan, some of the counties that Biden, handily won by 75 percent to 25% margin. I think Dearborn, Michigan, is one of those places where he did really really well, but she didn't do well, and that was clearly as a result of her nuanced um, uh, policy um, on Gaza.
Mhm.
So I think that was one of the things, but I don't think we can sugarcoat. I don't think we can leave out the fact that sexism and racism played uh, major factors in this. I mean, we've been we've been trading
Yeah.
uh, articles and pieces
Mhm.
for the last couple weeks, and everybody's talking about the three or four, five, six things that did or didn't happen. And I think many folks who are politically minded and are working in politics are trying very diligently not to say that it's racism, that it's sexism, but that's precisely what happened here.
I don't know how you can, and you and I are not two people who just throw out racism.
Nope.
We're not. That's not. We've never done that. We haven't been. That's not how we operate. But again, you cannot look at how this went
That's
down
right.
and not come to the conclusion that, okay, at no point in time did certain people go, hey, I'm voting for the same person that's endorsed by the Ku Klux Klan.
That's right.
That alone should make some people go, do I really?
That's right.
Do my values and my belief system,
Yeah.
are they in line with the Ku Klux Klan?
Yeah. David Duke absolutely not just supported her, Jill Stein, but he worked for her. He gave her money. He was a big supporter. Absolutely.
And so
Yeah.
when you look at how some of this broke down, and you mentioned some of her stance in on Gaza, and I think um, we have to acknowledge that, because when you looked at the numbers, Black women overwhelmingly supported 92%,
92,
Black men 78, 80,
80%.
which in 2020 we were around 78, so it was like 1%.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really not, from a percentage point, nothing to that didn't break her, right? And
Right.
so when you look at Black women and Black men, we held the fort. We held the fort down.
That's right.
Then you get to white men, and no offense to my white brothers, we knew what y'all were gonna do. I mean, that we knew that. I mean, that wasn't a shocker,
Right.
right?
And I appreciate, I want to put this on here right now, is not just on the podcast last time, but even before that, you predicted that
Mhm.
Black men were going to deliver for her, and that there was just no way that you could see that they weren't.
Yeah.
And I think they were making a bigger. I really appreciate you, and I'm gonna be the first one to say that you did it, and I'm gonna lay it out there.
Well,
But go ahead. I'm sorry,
since I've been hanging with you, the anointing has been getting stronger.
brother.
The
Yes, sir.
anointing has been coming off on the brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But I think I was a little bit. I had to make sure, and shout out to my brother, man, Jared, who really helped me with that. I was starting to fall victim to, man, all these brothers gonna just turn their
Yeah.
back, and that was the narrative that was
That's
being
right.
spun.
That's right.
And we have to make sure that we're not falling victim to, again, people telling us what we're going to do or what we should do. Going back to those numbers, you look at white men make 60%, 60 to 70%.
Indeed. Depending on their education level.
We have to talk about that.
That's right.
Because when you look at the college or educated voters, most of them sided with the Harris
That's right.
ticket. And again, no offense, but again, if you look at the data, the numbers speak for themselves. Those who are not, and I'm not saying college education is the end all or be all, but I do think there is something that we have to talk about. Whereas that makes a difference, I believe, because one of the things that bothered me a great deal was, how are people processing a lot of this information,
Indeed.
man?
Indeed.
If you haven't got to a point where you can intellectually look at information
Yeah.
and process it,
That's right.
then you will fall for the okie doke, which I think now we're starting to see people fall for the okie doke. And here's one of the things that I want to touch on, which kind of irked me.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at her stance on Gaza and why certain people said, hey, we shouldn't vote for her. And in my mind, I'm going, okay, you have one candidate.
Right.
Maybe you don't like her policy, you don't like what she's been doing.
That's right.
You have another candidate who created a Muslim ban, who has shown you
That's right.
that he could care less.
Could care less.
And the strategy was, out of these two people,
Yeah. Yeah.
let's not support the one who maybe we are not in lockstep, but we do
That's right.
know one
right.
of these people is worse.
That's right. Demonstrably.
demonstrably worse. And I want to get to some of these, whatever that coalition, but nobody said, "Hey, Muhammad, this sound right to you?"
Wow.
That we not gonna support
Mm.
the one lady who maybe we don't agree with, but we kind of know what he on.
Indeed.
This
Indeed.
is the person that created the Muslim man. We shown us how he feels, what he thinks. And our strategy is to not vote
Yeah.
for her,
Yeah.
which then becomes a vote for him, regardless of how you want to slice it. And
Indeed.
now you see what's happening. And now there's this plea for the Harrison Biden, no, for the Harrison Biden administration now, Biden Harris administration now, to help.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I'm super duper glad that we're here and we're gonna stand on this wall is to hold this next administration accountable for what they said, what they didn't say, what they almost said, all of those things. I think as it relates to this issue in Gaza, Black folk see this as a nuanced issue, and I think it was easy for us to get behind Kamala Harris. We have had to for centuries look at candidates, listen to candidates, vote for candidates and parties that didn't always fully embrace the things that I mean, nobody has been talking about reparations.
Right.
Nobody's been, there are, nobody's been really taking care of Black women, infant mortality rates, or the disparities that exists still with Black women, those sort of things. So we've had to hold our nose. We've had to do a lot of things to support candidates and parties. I mean, nobody really wanted the crime bill with Bill Clinton. Nobody wanted those things. But we have been forced. We have been put in positions where we've had to support. I think the folks who have been outraged about Gaza and Kamala's nuanced support, it just nuanced position on it, had, and I don't want to anger my Palestinian friends, but they saw their struggle and oppression, and that was their singular issue, and they haven't in this country had to you know be a nuanced posture the way we've had to be in a nuanced posture. And I said, if you can't stand with us, and we stand with y'all, we understand what apartheid. We are
right.
still facing apartheid. We're still facing segregation. We're still facing oppression. um, but but they would have rather they said we'll rather sink the ship, and if we can't get 100% on our issue, we're not going to do that nuanced dance. And so when we're watching them do that, we're like, well, we've had to do this in order for everybody to be in this boat to get something that they want. I was talking. There's a woman who's a Black woman who's a member of my church, who has friends that have friends that are Palestinian, and they they had some really strong opinions about this, and it's creating a lot of strife and hurt. Um, and I will simply say this, that um, what this is, what that what the rejection of her from people who are on our team mean for Black women. I think it has been very hurtful to the Black women that I have talked to.
I think it's been hurtful to. I think I agree with you. It's been, and to us, because I think sometimes as Black people, you go, if it's anybody you're gonna listen to about oppression, like I think we've proven that
That's all I'm
we
saying.
number one on
That's right.
how to deal with it,
That's
what
right.
it looks like,
That's right.
when it's coming. I mean,
That's right.
we got to know,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
And so, what also is hurtful is that as a Black person, when you've supported other people's issues,
That's right. Yeah.
when you've said, "Hey, my Asian brothers and sisters,
Mm-hmm.
the issue with college, that's not us hurting y'all.
That's right. That's right.
That's not us.
That's right.
The Palestinian, that's not us.
Right.
My Latino brothers and sisters, yo, that's not us.
That's right.
We've seen this movie.
That's right.
And for some of you all to think that because now you got a seat at the table,
Mm-hmm.
maybe you got a chair,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a stool,
Mm-hmm.
but we've
Mhm.
seen this.
Mm-hmm.
And we're telling you, hey, listen, we understand how it looks,
That's right.
but don't fall for these empty promises.
That's right.
We're telling you, yes, we've stood with you.
That's right.
And when you then turn around and don't stand with us,
Mm.
at some point as a black man, I'm like, then screw you.
Mm.
Screw you. Because you want me to be with you when it's tough for you. But every time it gets tough for us, you disappear.
That's right.
And I think what I'm expressing is, I believe, the frustration that a number of black people have to say, how is it that there's an expectation that black folks, we always co-opted into everybody's stuff, but yet people, we want to be there when we want people to be there for us, when it really counts.
Indeed.
And I'm not saying this is all the time, but in my mind, there is no reason why this should have played out the way it played out.
Indeed. I mean, there is no struggle in America since the early 20th century that has existed, that has thrived, that hasn't used our methods for fighting.
Mm-hmm.
No struggle, no oppressive struggle that has resisted, that hasn't used our model, and hasn't gotten some help from us.
Right.
And so I've heard individuals who have black folk who have been really, really hesitant to, when they hear other groups liken their struggle to our struggle. And I mean, I really don't have a problem with that. But if you're going to use our struggle and liken your struggle to our struggle, I need to see you when it's our time to, when it's us on the line.
One of the things that I will make sure that our microphones either come back on or something, but
Right.
When we looked at these numbers, were you surprised by the number of Latino men that went for Donald Trump?
I'll be honest. I wasn't sure what to expect. I mean, we saw the October surprise of October surprises when
Right.
when the man said that Puerto Rico was an island of trash. And we certainly understand that that the Latino community, the Latin community, is very diverse.
Yes.
Very, very, very diverse. And so there's all continuums of the spectrum in the community. And so I wasn't quite sure what we were going to get, what we were going to see. But it was surprising to me.
I thought that after that statement, that there would be a much greater shift. And I want to make sure we qualify that we're not categorizing everybody. I mean,
Indeed.
let's make sure we're not doing that. But again, when you look at the numbers, you look at the exit polls, and you see, a high number of Latino men. It's mind-boggling.
Indeed.
And again, they're a very diverse community, between Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, Cubans, very diverse. And I get that. I do want to bring this up to you, and it may be, I'm gonna try to say white women. There's no other way to say it.
Indeed.
Just this.
Don't beat around the bush.
I'm sorry. I just
gotta say something about it.
And here's why, because this irked me. And again, I try not to. I'm trying to watch my social media intake, but I saw this older white woman, and she was basically lambasting Latino and Black men, and I got offended, man, because I'm sitting here going, out of all the people,
That's right.
who shouldn't be talking.
That's right. That's exactly what I had to say myself. I'm sorry, brother. Go
of
ahead.
all the people who shouldn't be chastising
That's right.
anybody,
That's right.
you should be sitting here quiet.
That's right.
And if anything, you should be talking to the people in your circle.
That's right.
Because that's where the breakdown came at. And
Breakdown.
And you know, if we start going back to, you know, fool me once, shame on you.
But fool me 5 or 6 times. That's right.
You know, we saw this in 2016.
That's right.
We saw it in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And just when we started to think, okay, maybe treat me like I'm a parishioner.
Woo, brother.
Treat me like you need to minister to me, brother, and talk me off the cliff,
brother. I don't know if I could do that. I don't know.
What does Jesus say about this situation, bro?
Brother, Jesus rebuked them Pharisees and Sadducees the same way, brother. I don't know if I got a good word for you tonight. I don't know if I got one for you, brother.
Because I need to go to scripture.
That's right. I mean, this has been something that's boggling my mind as well, and just the audacity that I'm saying. Well, you know, it was black men and Latino men, or men in general, and I just had to say, are we really? Are we watching and reading the same thing? Almost 60% of y'all.
60%.
And that's a far more sizable population than 20% of the black men who didn't vote for her.
Yeah.
I mean, and we have to go back to sexism and racism, because I mean, here in Wisconsin, I think the numbers bear out that we had the highest voter turnout in the nation, I believe. And then I think Michigan was next, and there were some other places. I think Arkansas was the lowest, but we had the highest voter turnout in the nation. And I believe all of the battleground state senators who were running won their races. The Dems that were running. We had Tammy Baldwin, who was running a super tough race.
Very close, much more close than what I thought it would have been.
Me too.
What I thought it would have been.
That it should have been. But those numbers. I mean, when we were listening to folks who were involved in the campaign, they were talking about it. You know, it's between 0.5% and 1% that she's up, and I think Kamala's up the same amount. But so how is it that Kamala Harris does not win this state, but Tammy Baldwin does, who ran on everything that Kamala Harris ran on?
It is a peculiar place, the state we live in. And you saw that in, again, the Governor Evers, Mandela,
indeed,
Tim Michaels, Senator Ron Johnson election, where you go, how does this place vote for a governor who's a Democrat on a local level and then a Republican, and vice versa, on when you have a Democrat on the federal level and then they vote for a Republican on the federal level and then a Democrat on the local level. And again, when you start looking at this thing, I can't help but go, let's look at both of those situations.
Right.
And what was the outlining difference? It's hard not to come to race.
Right.
I think you can say she ran a great campaign.
She did.
I think, Mandela, who good kid, man, love him to death, good dude.
Indeed.
I thought ran a good campaign, probably could have been a little bit more, but when you look at there's no way you can explain
Mm-mm.
how someone would vote for a Governor Tony Evers and a Senator Ron Johnson.
That's right.
Two people who are diametrically opposed to one another.
Absolutely.
There's no way you can explain you voting for a Donald Trump and a Tammy Baldwin.
That's right.
Two people who are diametrically, in all kinds of ways, opposed to one another.
Indeed.
From policy to lifestyle to choices to
That's
just
right.
the way people treat humanity.
That's right.
There's no way you can do that.
That's right.
So, what is it that made certain folks go, I'm going to vote for him and her,
That's right.
but not the.
And split that ticket. Yeah. AOC was AOC posted on her social media uh, comments from voters in her district who voted for her on one piece of the ticket, but voted for Donald Trump on the other piece of the ticket. And it was anything from she felt like she was entitled, and we keep hearing that we've got to vote a woman in, and we've got to have a woman president and so forth. But we didn't hear how she was qualified. You know, it was very educational and enlightening. We'll get our chance though to see here in Wisconsin uh, whether this was racial or not. My guess, you heard it here on Hollaback first. I believe that Mandela's going to run for the Senate seat
Really?
again.
Okay.
Uh, I think Governor Evers is going to step down. I don't think he's going to run again. And I think there are a number of candidates of color that are talking about running. So we'll get our chance to see what's what.
When you look at that, do you think that, you know, just based on one, that's a very interesting, that's exciting actually. I'm so glad we take this is
Indeed.
I am so glad with it. Yeah, this is the
Indeed.
kind of conversations we need to
Indeed.
be having.
No doubt.
When you look at this stuff, and going back to something you said about her qualifications,
Right.
again, I'm trying to be a good Christian man, but the stupid people.
That's right.
How do you go? This woman has been the attorney general, law school, vice president, and then say she's not qualified. When you look at, you can make the argument that between her, Hillary Clinton, and Barack Obama said it once, that the women have been more qualified
That's
than
right.
the men.
That's right. There's no doubt about it.
They've been more qualified
doubt
than the
about it.
men to be president.
Right. There's no doubt
But
about it.
yet, the misogyny that was, she's not qualified, and Donald Trump was. I
Yeah.
still don't even think he wants to be president.
Yeah, I heard out of somebody's folks, not just it was all spectrum of people that it was breathtaking to hear folks say that she wasn't qualified, um, you know, and they were voting for Donald Trump, who had never held any office. I mean, and had failed his business 6, 7, 8 times.
Yeah.
Is has lied about his assets and has been sued about his assets, and I mean, just had a judgment or two against him. I mean, it just the contradiction is sharp.
I want to get into, now that Donald Trump is president,
He will be, yeah.
will be. You look at some of the nominations,
Mm. Mm.
and I'm floored by how many people are going or are okay with some of these nominations.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, if he called me and you
Wow.
to run
Wow.
a government agency,
Wow. That would never happen because you actually have some, you know what I'm saying? You have some credentials and qualifications. I just don't think we have a wrestler. We have a professional. I mean, I saw her getting slapped in the face by her children on WWE out here. I mean, so we would never get that call up because you got a master's and elected official. I don't think you'd ever get that call, brother. Brother, you got too much get up and go and too many qualifications, so that would never happen.
Nobody said, hey, sir, it's probably not a good idea to have
No, sir.
the CEO of the WWE
To be the education
to be the education secretary.
Right.
Like, those two don't go together.
Not at all. Not
Those
at
two
all.
don't go together.
Not at all.
And nobody is, it's. But what do we expect when you look at and the baggage that some of these folks have come with?
Yeah.
Which, birds of a feather, man,
That's right.
fly
That's
together.
right. That's right.
All the sexual misconduct from
That's right.
a good 2 or 3 people in his cabinet, man.
That's
I mean, are we seeing the standards of this just get thrown out the window? I mean, because at this point, there should be no tough on crime for what?
Yeah.
You have the person that is now in the number 1 position in America who's been proven guilty of breaking all kinds of laws.
Indeed.
So this whole we need to get tough on crime. How? There's no more discussion on it.
And there was just a dismissal of some of the most serious charges that an American human citizen can be charged with. Treason.
Yeah.
I mean, subverting the government. They were dropped without prejudice, so they can. I mean, he essentially got away with murder.
I want to ask you, as we have 10 more minutes, what's next for us? Because I don't want to, we're here.
Yeah.
And one of the things you and I have done is we've reached out to people even before the election, and particularly to people on the Democratic side, and said, hey, one of the things that we've seen consistently is that you all come and then you bring in people who are not from these communities, and you think they're supposed to garner support. And we're telling you, hey, there's a way or method you have to do this. And while there was a great ground game that she's done,
Indeed.
Again, the fact that we got so close and you and I were having some of these kinds of discussions.
Indeed.
Where do we need to go? Because 2 things you said, we need to make sure we hold these people accountable.
That's right. That's right.
And I hope that the same people who voted for him feel the same way, because he told everybody what he was going to do, and at this point he's doing it. Right. And so if that's the case, then certain people should, hey, when he says he's going to, groceries are going to be cheaper.
That's right.
And 25% tariff war now, and groceries are not cheaper. Right. Are these same people going to have that same vigor and energy? What do we need to do from your standpoint?
Well, I really appreciated you bringing up the conversations we had as an impetus to these discussions that we're having. The Harris Walz campaign did run a very effective campaign from my perspective. I don't think there was a whole lot that they could have done differently or better. I do think, I mean, breathtaking amount of money raised, $1 billion in 90 days, 100 days, it was something like that, or a billion plus. This is the only campaign that I've ever seen being questioned about the kind of money that they're spending and those sort of things.
Already,
it's mind-boggling that they're doing such a thing. But we were sounding this alarm many weeks ago, before the election, several weeks, that there needs to be a better effort in our community.
Yeah.
I mean, there were 90 million voters in this last election that didn't vote. That was enough to swing the election in the battleground states. What needs to happen, what I think broadly as a community we need to do, I think we need to focus on hyper local connections and communities. So um, mosques, uh, temples, churches, community centers, family outlets. We really have to be growing those things. That's the way that we're going to stay sane. That's the way we're going to come back from this. I don't think this was a rejection of woke politics. I don't think this was a rejection of us. I don't think this was a rejection of anything that we're doing. I think I think we need to just, I think we need some time to heal and rest. I don't know that there was a lot that we did wrong, but we need to. I think we need to start building those hyper local connections, growing those things. Because it's going. I'm not going to lie. It's going. I feel like what I've heard, if they implement 25% of what I've heard, it's going to be tough for us.
That leads to the 2025 Project 2025, that
Indeed.
where again, people swore up and down they had nothing to do with it, and now you see all the policies coming.
That's right.
You
That's right.
see it coming.
That's
I
right.
mean, he's appointing people who wrote the
That's right.
2025.
They
I
were
mean,
they were the architects.
they were the
That's right.
architects of
That's
it.
right.
Do you think that? Do you think that we can be? Do you think we can get to a point where the heal? And I don't know. I mean, do you think we can get to a point where um, black folks, people of color, can? I don't. I always get frustrated by this because we always have to be the one to heal.
Yes. Yes.
I'm tired of
Yes.
healing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't do stuff that make me gotta heal.
That's right.
Do you think we can get over this stuff? Do you think we can get back? Because if there was something that said, "Hey, tomorrow we need you all," I don't know. I don't know how many people showing up. I mean,
Yeah.
do you
Yeah.
think we can get past this?
Yeah. And I'm seeing reflections from black women uh, that are saying something along those lines, that maybe organizing and political organizing isn't what we need to be doing. We are, the consistent stability for sanity.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if we're supposed to do that. I, you know, it would be so if we were able to ever recover or heal, that it would be the first time in our history that we were able to do that. But we have overcome much. Um, and, and so I'm not saying that I'm not concerned. We have overcome slavery. We've overcome segregation. We have over. I was, if you watch, Bloody Sunday or Black Wall Street. I mean, these are government sanctioned actions where they just had a field day on us. So we have made it through a great number of things. We can certainly make it through this. We have, we our faith is firmly and well placed, and so we'll make it through. But like you said, why do we have to keep healing and making it through stuff? This is going to be a tough one. But yeah, I think we can make it through. Yep.
I want to. We're talking about local politics, and
Indeed.
you made the prediction. You think that Mandela will run again,
I do.
and you think Governor Evers will probably not run again.
That's right.
Um, who else on the Democratic side? I mean, I would imagine, because there is some talk on whether or not Eric Hovde would run for governor.
Right.
And whether you like it or not, he had a decent showing, man. I mean,
Indeed.
to lose by that narrow margin.
Indeed.
I don't know who else would come up. I think there's outside of him on the Republican side. I don't know who else would run. What about Lieutenant Governor
Yeah.
Rodriguez?
Yeah, I think Republicans do, in this state particularly, do a really good job of developing a bench.
They do. They do.
There's always 7, 8
Yeah.
people ready
Yeah.
to run. They're always training new
Yeah.
folks, and there seems to be on that side of the table particularly, a little selflessness that goes on. That this is, this assembly seat's not for you just yet. It's not your time, or
Mm-hmm.
this lieutenant governor, or this governor position, this Senate. It's not. This is not the time for you to do that. I'm asking you to step out, and we're going to focus our attention on and our support on this person.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen that. I mean, in my time, 25 years or so in this political structure, I've just seen a little selflessness as it relates to them maneuvering for their agenda. Um, I'm not saying it doesn't happen on the progressive side of the table.
Right.
I'm just saying that when it comes to developing a bench, we could stand to be a little bit better. They could, progressives could certainly stand to be a little bit better on that. Um, but who will do it? I think well, just in terms of folks, I think Josh Call is going to run.
Yeah.
I think why wouldn't he run?
Right.
He has run a successful statewide campaign twice.
Lawyer, attorney general.
He's well liked.
Next step up.
That's right. He's well liked. Doyle did the same thing.
Yep.
So he has the blueprint.
Mm-hmm.
I just think he has not been in any scandals or any troubles. So I think he is probably one of the better picks.
Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't Melissa Agard look at that? Look at that as well. Take a look at something. But in terms of Black folk, I mean, your guess is better than mine. I mean, I think there's some Milwaukee folks that we're hearing. I mean, Cavalier has ambitions to do certain things. So it's wide open, but I think we're going to get our chance to decipher and determine and learn whether or not this was racism and sexism at work here. To cause Kamala Harris to lose Wisconsin, but others down the ticket to win their races.
I think you mentioned the mayor of Milwaukee, Cavalier, County Executive David Crowley.
That's right.
Both good young guys,
Indeed.
man. Smart brothers. Know them both. Can they pull off a statewide campaign? Particularly if they have to go against a Josh Call or something like that.
Right.
Mandela, to his credit, did a good job. When he became the lieutenant governor.
Indeed.
And if he makes had a decent showing in a Senate run.
That's right.
Granted, people know him,
That's
so
right.
you have, I think, some people there who have some experience. The issue will be, can they raise the money?
Right.
And then will they have enough in their accomplishments to make folks, particularly in rural areas, go, okay, I see you.
Right.
I think that's always difficult for people coming out of urban areas,
Indeed.
Particularly Black folks.
Indeed.
Because I mean, we still have, you still have these things where you got to deal with the double standard.
That's right.
You got to be spotless, and not just spotless. You have to be, perfect in every way, man.
Right.
I mean, and the idea that you become a champion for Black people.
That's right.
Some people that turns, for whatever reason, that turns people off. Do you think the state is getting closer to being ready for a Black governor?
No. And I like everybody that you mentioned. I like them, and I don't want to get punched in the mouth by you, brother, or by Tasha, brother. But if anybody can do, I'm just going to be honest. If anybody has the credentials, the business savvy, the connections,
yeah, you gonna get punched.
Okay, I'll stop. You said you're don't do it. I'll leave it alone then. I'll leave it alone. All right. But we need somebody like a Jason Fields who is able to reach between both sides of the aisle, who has some economic just that can get upstate and have people listen to him. I mean, Henry Sanders, was close.
Good dude.
I mean, Darrell Williams is a combat veteran and
Yeah,
all those things.
got a
um,
lot of chips, man.
no doubt,
There
no
is a
doubt. I
lot
think he
of
was over. I think he was overlooked in that
that's
Senate. I thought.
yeah,
I really think he's a quality candidate, and I think even in other states he really would have. He would have shined a lot brighter. But I think we have a lot of folks
yeah.
who could put together really really quality campaigns and could really be doing some stuff. I mean, it's just really tough to see.
I always thought one of our weaknesses as a community was making that win-win narrative that it doesn't have to be a us versus them,
That's right.
and that if you can talk about economics
Right.
and point to how you being in office benefits everybody,
Mm,
then you can cross that, you can get over that racial hump. Because again, I mean, this state did vote for Mandela
right.
Barnes. This they did vote for Barack Obama.
And that's
Um,
how Barack did it. That's how Barack Obama did it. It is I mean, just like our guest last time said.
yeah,
I mean, it was I think there was some maneuvering, and folks realized my pocketbook
yeah,
isn't feeling good right now. We don't really have a lot to lose, and I think there was a convergence of
yeah.
interests at that point.
So if we, as we get ready to wrap up, right, the economics of Black folks, the laws. As an attorney, I have to ask you this. You've been involved in a number of campaigns. You've managed the appointments that Biden has, the number of Black judges
Hmm.
that Biden has. What's the, in layman's terms, man? Why is that beneficial?
Yeah, I mean, I think that means a whole lot. I
Yeah,
think, I think, as we've seen from Donald Trump, we are feeling the effects of his appointments uh, now, but we'll be feeling the effects of his appointments for the next 30, 40 years at least. Um,
and I don't know
judicial,
if people really
yeah,
understand that.
yeah, judicial appointments are long lasting. Federal judicial appointments are forever, and, until they die or they step down. And so that person will be there making policy, making decisions, making rulings forever. I mean, is for the foreseeable future. And so, I mean, that is a really overlooked piece of the fight is when we put our people into positions like the presidency, and we have control of the Senate and so forth, then we can really put together pieces of policy pieces that will last for decades. Um, there are folks that are still governing and that are still issuing rulings, from the Bush era and from Reagan era and so forth. It's I mean, this
Yeah,
that's how long. I mean, Clarence Thomas has on there, been on there since
yeah.
since Bush.
My last final question, and
Indeed.
and I was thought about this as we move into, again, going into 2025 and looking at this last election. Have we just witnessed the death of the Republican Party as it used to be? Is it now
Yeah.
Democrats versus MAGA?
I think I think I think yes. I don't know if it's Democrats versus MAGA. But what I think if I don't first of all, I don't think he's going to leave office. I think in 4 years we have
he's
to be
he's
very
making
very
moves like
careful and
he
very
doesn't want
ready.
to leave.
That's right. I just don't think he's going to leave office. Um, I don't think he's going to want to. I don't think no anybody's going to try to force him to. He's not going to want to leave office. But assuming that we can get out of this 4 years and move on as a country, um, I think I think Republican I think the Republican Party and I think evangelical Christians are in a really precarious situation. They have, in order to make the ends justify the means, they have had to compromise so many things that
Hmm.
they have said that they hold dear. They said that they hold the family structure dear, and this man has been, married 3 times, and has, moved from one
Right.
woman to the. I mean, the overlap between the
And
marriages and the
cheating on
women and all
every
that.
one of them.
Yeah, it's just the overlap has been profound. Or or the moral sliding of this man, and the line. I mean, again, we talked about this in our last talk, that he, as a Christian, he says he doesn't go to church. He doesn't feel the need to
Ask
ask
for
for
forgiveness.
forgiveness. I mean, so they've had to. I mean, Republicans have had to slide so much of what they believe. The eschewing of big government. Um, you know, the market control, and keeping government out
Out
of
of
people's
business.
business, and out of off of people's bodies, and those sort of things. That's generally what they have stood for.
But now it's a total 180
That's
from
completely. And so it's going to be very interesting to see what the Republican Party becomes, and see what evangelical Christians become, because so much of what they said that they hold dear, they have compromised. I mean, absolutely compromised. And so when he leaves the scene, if we can get him off the scene, how are they going to try to pivot back? And we're going to be sitting there looking at him like, you just told us that a man who we elected president twice, who had one wife, I mean, if there were any rumors of
yeah,
any outside, jump offs, and
yeah,
side, that we would have heard about those things.
that's right.
That you told us that his biggest scandal was a tan suit. That was his biggest scandal. And and so a man who went to church every Sunday, a man
Mhm.
who was deeply faithful, and deeply committed to his family, his family's,
Right. No
together.
babies
All
out of
That's right.
wedlock. No,
Just
no.
all just everything is in order with him. Um, so you're gonna tell us, you're gonna now try to pivot back to, this family values, and all of these things, when you slid all those things
You
slid
threw them out the
under this
window.
man. Absolutely. So I don't think they can move back. I think that this signals the end of both of those things. uh, it'll become something. it'll
Hmm.
always it'll always be something. There will always be, another side. But I think it is over. I think it's over. Um, and I the word of encouragement that I'm gonna leave here is that we have to keep moving and keep
Hmm.
fighting. Yeah. So the numbers didn't look good for some of the demographics that we thought we were going to get. This country is changing, and it's looking a lot more like us.
Right.
It is feeling a lot more like us. We have to keep offering folks another way. And if we can offer folks, a more solid way, we gon' have better times.
Well, man, I want to thank you again, and thank
Man,
you all for joining us on the Hollow Black Podcast
indeed.
with Reverend Attorney, my dear friend David Hart, and little old Jason Fields. You all, um, Tasha, please don't listen
I
to that
know that's right.
whole.
I please edit some of that out. Edit some of that out. I didn't mean to do it,
I
but
see, but we're gonna have to have an offline talk.
that's right. That's right.
Thank you all for
Indeed.
joining us. Make sure you follow us on YouTube Live, Facebook, and we'll let you know when the next show is. We're going to be bringing in some guests for you all. Hopefully, we can get Daryl on, man, because
Indeed.
I do think
I would love that.
I would love to. That Daryl was great guy, man. Was, I think, a beautiful candidate. Had
Indeed.
all of the things
I agree.
as we start talking about what's next, and get you all on a consistent show schedule with us.
That's
So
right.